Okay, this article comes from Zero Hedge. Trump warns the Chinese president the trade war with China begins on Monday. If there wasn't enough geopolitical and social stress points in the world to fill a lifetime of sleepy late on Friday night, President Trump spoke to Chinese President Xi Jinping and told him that he's prepared to order an investigation into Chinese trade practices next week. According to NBC, Politico confirms that Trump is ready to launch a new trade crackdown on China next week, citing an administration official, a step that Trump delayed 2 weeks ago under the guidance of his new chief of staff, General Kelly, but now appears imminent. It's also an escalation which most analysts agree will launch a trade war between Washington and Beijing. Well, about a week ago, the Russian government said that they are already in a trade war, financial warfare. I think that they used the term financial warfare. So China and Russia are working together on the new Silk Road project, which is called One Belt, One Road. Now, this is an opening for the United States to further cool trade relations with China. Now, I've talked about this before. A huge sucking sound is coming from China against America. And our economy is bad, and it's been getting worse. All of our jobs, our factories are all gone overseas. The good jobs are all gone. Now, America's making a lot of new jobs, but you have to understand what these jobs are. Most of them are part-time jobs. Thank you, Obamacare. Thank you, Obamacare, for getting rid of all of the good jobs. The reason why those good jobs are gone, a lot of them, is because of the Obamacare requirements for employers. Employers have to pay a lot more and stuff to keep a full-time worker on with Obamacare, where if they hire a part-time work. So what they've been doing is they've been laying off the full-time help and they've been hiring on part-time help. Then the government's been counting those as extra jobs when really they're only part-time work. The whole thing is almost like a giant scam, a scam to help the insurance companies, empty the common man's pocket. Thank you, Obamacare. And then what do you get for your penalized? If you don't get Obamacare, you get penalized by the government. What do you get for that? That's nothing more than a tax against all the Americans. You know, and this is just completely sick. It's sick, in my mind, to force somebody to take medical insurance. It's sick to do that, because that is, in my mind, it's unconstitutional, because it's forcing them to take something against their will if they don't want it. And then if they don't want it, what do they have to do? Pay a penalty? And if they don't pay the penalty, what happens to them? They raise the penalty higher or whatever, or throw you in jail or whatever. The whole thing is just a scheme as far as I'm concerned. And it was called Obamacare. That's because Obama started the whole thing. Trump wanted to get rid of it. Trump wanted to get rid of it entirely, but he couldn't because there's just too much swamp out there. So I'm straying off the subject here. There's a trade war here that's going on between Washington and Beijing. Trump on Monday will call for an investigation into China over allegations that the nation violated U.S. intellectual property rights and forced technology transfers, the official said. While it's unclear how much detail Trump will get into in the announcement, administration officials expect U.S. Trade Representative Robert Lighthizer to open an investigation against China under Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974. The ordering of the investigation will not immediately impose sanctions, but could lead to steep tariffs on Chinese goods. I'm going to say one thing, about time. About time to stop the sucking sound that's been coming from China. And get into more detail about this sucking sound is, it used to be America had its factories and stuff, and America made goods, and they made good quality merchandise. Good quality of items were made in the factories here in America. What happened is now they're making crappy merchandise overseas using cheap labor. And that merchandise doesn't last, and they sell it back to Americans. That's your money going out. It's going out of the country. It's not staying in America. That's your hard-earned everything going out, and that's a sucking sound. You stop the sucking sound, we're going to feel some immediate pain. Yes, if the sucking sound stopped. But ultimately, it'll bring jobs back into the country. And this is what Trump's working at. He said that he's going to work at bringing jobs back into the country. You put tariffs on Chinese goods, the first thing you know, you're going to be making American goods more competitive. Because the Chinese goods, the price will go up on Chinese goods because of the tariff. And simply put, if you get that price high enough, then America can produce goods again, once again, and our factories can start to make money. You know, so I see this only as a good thing, and it cuts the money off from going to China. How do you think the Chinese got rich? They were a poor country, and they got rich, and they bought all of this gold. They've bought all of this gold by selling stuff to us, and it's been shoddy merchandise all the way. I can't tell you how many times I've bought things like a hammer made in China, no, actually, I'll buy the hammer, I'll start using it, and the head flies off of the thing. And I go over and pick it up, and I look, and there'll be a stamp on the side of things that says made in China. You know, and I can't tell you how many times that stuff like that's happened to me. I'll buy a flashlight, I use it the first time, the light's nice and bright. The next night I go to use it, and the light won't come on. I have to bang, bang, bang on it, and then the light starts to flicker. You know, and then the bulb burns out next thing. And I look on it, and it says made in China. And there goes our money. Now, yes, these goods are cheaper, but they're not even worth the cheaper. They're not worth it. They're not worth it. So, two Commerce Department reports examining whether to restrict steel and aluminum imports on national security grounds were expected by the end of June, but have been bottled up in an internal review. Trading partners raised threats of retaliation, and domestic steel users complained of being hurt by the price increases and restricted supply. The trade investigation will immediately strain relations between the United States and China as the two countries wrestle with the unpredictable situation over North Korea. Should Trump follow through, the move will lay the groundwork for Trump to impose tariffs against Chinese imports, which will mark a significant escalation in his efforts to reshape the relationship between the world's two largest economies. In other words, even if there is now a conventional war announced with either North Korea or Venezuela, Trump's next step is to launch a trade war against China. So, that's what's coming down the pike, a trade war against China. And also, it's already, restrictions have already went in against Russia. And these two countries are working together, like I say, and they're going to develop a new empire together, the Russian-Chinese empire. And the Americans, they're planning on taking America down, depressing America to the point where you don't have enough money, even though you're working. The only way to really get out of this is American ingenuity, hard labor, and we're going to have to go through the crisis first, though. And then on the other side of the crisis, we're going to have to work together to bring America back again. And it's like Trump says, make America great again, but Trump is trying to make America great again without having the crisis, and the crisis is going to come. And what I'm frightened of is the crisis is going to be blamed on Trump when it comes. And these beggars that have been sitting on the sidelines, they're going to blame it all on Trump, the crisis, but it's not his fault. He's not the one that set it up originally to begin with. And the ones that are going to come in, and they're going to come in and blame it on him, are the ones who set it up. They're the real ones who set it up. But it's all ready to fall. It's all ready to collapse. We just got to wait until the collapse occurs. I can't give you a timeline of exactly when that's going to start, but I think it's very possible this fall that the collapse is going to actually get underway. The Federal Reserve is going to come in and they're going to try to sell the toxic assets on their balance book, and I don't really think they're going to get away with that. So thank you guys for listening. Like and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next article. Bye.